Imagine this. You wake up one morning. You put on your uniform. You drive to work like you've done for 7 years. You're a prison guard. Respected, trusted, clean record. And by the end of that day, you're a fugitive, a criminal, running from the law with the very prisoner you were supposed to be guarding. Sounds like a movie, right? This actually happened. This is the true story of Officer Victoria Vicky Hartwell and inmate Marcus Chen. A story about love, betrayal, and a decision that destroyed 2 lives in the span of 18 hours. And guys, I'm telling you right now, buckle up, because what you're about to hear is one of the most insane escape stories in American prison history. But before we dive in, make sure you hit that subscribe button and ring the bell, because stories like this, they're rare, and you're not going to want to miss what happens next. All right, Victoria Hartwell, 36 years old, born and raised in Riverside County, California. Middle-class family. Her dad was a mechanic, her mom was a nurse. Normal, hard-working people. Vicky went to community college, studied criminal justice, and at 29 years old, she landed a job as a corrections officer at Riverside Correctional Facility, a medium-security men's prison about 60 miles outside Los Angeles. Now here's the thing about Vicky. She was good at her job, like really good. In 7 years, she had 3 commendations from the warden, Employee of the Quarter twice, 0 disciplinary actions, perfect attendance, conflict de-escalation specialist. Her coworkers loved her. Inmates respected her. She wasn't one of those power-tripping guards. She was fair, professional, by the book. Her mom used to brag about her at church. "My daughter keeps people safe." Vicky had a small apartment, a cat named Kafka, yes, after the writer, a savings account with $47,000 in it, a pension waiting for her in 18 years. She lived a quiet, safe, predictable life, and she was absolutely miserable. See, here's what nobody tells you about being a prison guard. It's not just the inmates who are locked up. You are too. Same concrete walls, same fluorescent lights, same recycled air, same routine, day after day after day. Vicky had been doing this for 7 years, and somewhere along the way, she started to feel like she was the one in the cage. But she kept going, because that's what you do, right? You don't just throw away a stable career because you're unhappy. Until she met Marcus Chen, and then everything changed. Marcus Chen, inmate number 87492, 38 years old, second-generation Chinese-American, grew up in San Francisco, Stanford graduate, yeah, Stanford, computer science degree. So what was a Stanford grad doing in prison? Fraud, aggravated fraud, and identity theft, 14 counts. Here's what happened. Marcus worked for a tech startup that was going under. Instead of letting it fail, he cooked the books, created fake accounts, moved money around, made it look like the company was profitable when it was bleeding cash. He did it to save jobs, he said, to keep his team employed. Noble intentions, terrible execution. The FBI didn't see it that way. They saw wire fraud, identity theft, conspiracy. They threw the book at him. 8-year sentence. He'd already served 3 years and 2 months by the time Vicky met him. Now, Marcus wasn't your typical inmate. He didn't have gang tattoos. He didn't start fights. He spent most of his time in the prison library, reading. Philosophy books, classic literature, poetry. The other inmates thought he was weird. The guards mostly ignored him. He was quiet, kept to himself, model prisoner. But Marcus was smart, really smart. And more importantly, he was lonely. 3 years in a cell does something to a person. You start to forget what real human connection feels like. Every conversation is transactional, guarded, fake. Until Vicky walked past his cell one day during evening count.
It was October 2025, 6 months before the escape. Vicky was doing her rounds in C block. Routine count. She's checking cells, marking names on her clipboard. She gets to Marcus's cell and sees him reading a book, a thick, worn paperback. And without thinking, she says, "Crime and Punishment. That's a heavy read for a Tuesday night." Marcus looks up, surprised. Most guards don't talk to inmates beyond giving orders. He says, "It's actually my 3rd time reading it. You familiar with Dostoevsky?" And Vicky, who minored in literature in college, says, "Yeah, read it in a Russian lit class. The whole guilt and redemption thing. Pretty intense." They talk for 15 minutes. Just talk about Raskolnikov's psychological breakdown, about whether redemption is possible after you've done something terrible, about the burden of conscience. And when Vicky walks away, she realizes something. That's the first real conversation she's had in months, maybe years. After that, it became a thing. Every Tuesday and Thursday evening, Vicky would time her rounds so she'd pass Marcus's cell. They'd talk through the bars, 5 minutes, 10 minutes, sometimes longer if the block was quiet. Books at first, always books. Then philosophy, Camus, Kafka, Sartre, all the existentialists asking the same question: what does it mean to be free? Then it got personal. Marcus told her about growing up in San Francisco, about his parents who immigrated from China with nothing, about the pressure to succeed, about the startup and the fraud, and how he'd convinced himself he was doing the right thing until the FBI showed up. Vicky told him about her dad dying of a heart attack when she was 19, about her mom's battle with breast cancer, about how she became a prison guard because she wanted to feel like she was protecting people, but instead she just felt empty. They talked about dreams, fears, regrets, all the things you're not supposed to share with an inmate. And somewhere in those conversations, something shifted. Vicky started volunteering for C-block assignments, started accidentally doing her rounds when Marcus would be awake, started bringing him books from her personal collection, which was technically against policy, but nobody checked. She told herself it was nothing, just friendly conversations, professional rapport. But then, one night in January, 2 months ago, Marcus said something that changed everything. They were talking about Camus' The Stranger, the idea of living authentically, even when society tells you you're wrong. And Marcus looked at her through those bars and said, "You ever feel like you're living someone else's life? Like you're trapped in a role you never chose?" And Vicky, God help her, said, "Every single day." Marcus held her gaze. "Me too." That's when Vicky realized she wasn't just sympathizing with a prisoner. She was falling in love with him. And that realization, it terrified her. So now Vicky's got a problem. She's in love with an inmate, which is A, against every rule in the book, B, career-ending if anyone finds out, C, completely insane. She tries to stop, tries to request a different block assignment, tries to put distance between them. But she can't, because every time she sees Marcus locked in that cell, something inside her breaks. This man, this intelligent, thoughtful, good man had made one mistake. Okay, 14 counts of fraud, but still, he wasn't violent, he wasn't a danger to anyone, he was just trapped. 5 more years on his sentence. 5 more years of that cell. And the parole board? They'd reviewed his case, denied him. The victim impact statements were too strong, the financial damage too severe. No early release. He was doing the full 8 years. Which meant Vicky had 2 choices. Wait 5 years, hope Marcus gets out, hope he still feels the same way, hope they can build something on the outside, or do something absolutely insane. Guess which one she picked. February 10th, 2026, 5 days before the escape. Vicky goes to her bank, withdraws her entire savings, $47,000. The teller asks if everything's okay. Vicky says she's buying a car, cash deal. She goes home, starts researching. Border crossings, fake IDs, how to hotwire a car, how to disappear. She knows this is crazy. She knows it. But here's what she's thinking. She's 36 years old, no husband, no kids, no real life outside of this job. She goes to work, comes home, watches TV, goes to sleep, repeats. For what? A pension in 18 years? Retirement in a small apartment with a cat? Or she could have 18 hours, maybe more, maybe less, of being truly alive with someone who actually sees her. When you put it that way, the choice becomes obvious. February 14th, the day before the escape. Vicky pulls Marcus aside during rec time. There are cameras everywhere, so she has to be careful. She hands him a book, The Stranger by Camus. Inside the front cover, she's written a note. Tomorrow, psychological eval. Trust me, V. Marcus reads it. His eyes go wide. He starts to say something, but Vicky cuts him off with a look. She walks away. That night, neither of them sleeps.
Suspense, dramatic, and slightly ominous. Vicky arrives at work, signs in, acts completely normal. 9:15 a.m. She walks into the transport office with a forged authorization form. Now, let me explain how she pulled this off. Vicky had spent 2 weeks studying transport protocols. She knew the paperwork inside and out. She knew which judges typically ordered psychological evaluations. She knew the format, the language, the signatures. She created a fake document ordering Marcus Chen to undergo a psych eval at Riverside County Courthouse, made it look official, even forged a judge's signature, Judge Martinez, who actually existed but was on vacation that week. The beauty of it? Nobody double-checks these things in the moment. The courthouse is supposed to have the appointment on file, but the transport officer, he just needs a signature to cover his ass. Officer Jenkins is on duty, mid-50s, 20 years on the job, counting down to retirement. Not someone who asks too many questions. Vicky slides the form across the desk. Need your sign-off on this transport. Jenkins glances at it. Psych eval for Chen? Since when? Vicky's heart is pounding, but her face is calm. She's rehearsed this. Court ordered it last week, part of his rehabilitation review. It's in the system. It's not in the system. There's no rehabilitation review. But Jenkins doesn't check. Why would he? Vicky's never given him a reason not to trust her. He signs, but then he says something that almost ruins everything. You going solo? Protocol says 2 officers for transports. This is it. This is where it could all fall apart. Vicky doesn't hesitate. Budget cuts, Jenkins. You want to file a complaint about staffing with the warden? Because I sure as hell don't. Jenkins grunts. Fair enough. Drive safe, Hartwell. Drive safe. If only he knew. 9:23 a.m. Vicky walks into C Block to collect Marcus. The other inmates are watching, always watching, but they don't see anything unusual. Just another transport. Happens all the time. "Chen," Vicky calls out. "Psychological evaluation at the courthouse. Let's go." Marcus stands. His face is carefully neutral, but Vicky can see it in his eyes. Fear, hope, disbelief. She cuffs him. Standard procedure. Handcuffs, ankle shackles, belly chain connecting them. Her hands are shaking slightly, but she keeps it together. They walk through C Block, past the guard station where Officer Morrison barely looks up from his newspaper, past the checkpoint where the metal detector beeps its approval. Every step feels like walking a tightrope over hell. They reach the transport bay, van number 7, the one with the broken rear camera that maintenance keeps forgetting to fix. Vicky had requested this specific van 3 times to make sure it was available. She loads Marcus into the back cage, that metal mesh partition separating prisoner from driver. He moves awkwardly in his chains. Their eyes meet through the mesh, just for a second. Then Vicky gets in the driver's seat, starts the engine. The radio crackles to life with morning shift chatter. The gate operator's voice. "Transport 7, you're clear for departure." The massive steel gate begins to open, 20 feet of chain link and razor wire, the barrier between incarceration and freedom. Vicky grips the steering wheel. This is it. Last chance to turn back. She could kill the engine right now, tell Jenkins she's not feeling well, abort the whole thing. The gate is fully open. "Transport 7 departing," Vicky says into the radio, and she drives through. The gate closes behind them with a sound like a tomb sealing. In her rearview mirror, Vicky watches Riverside Correctional Facility disappear. 7 years of her life, her career, her identity, all of it shrinking into the distance. "Vicky," Marcus says from behind the mesh. His voice is thick with emotion. "Thank you." She can't respond. If she speaks right now, she'll break. They drive in silence for 23 minutes. Then Vicky pulls off Route 47 onto a dirt access road behind an abandoned Texaco station, kills the engine, gets out, opens the back doors, and starts unlocking Marcus's chains. The ankle shackles fall away, then the belly chain, then finally, the handcuffs. Marcus rubs his wrists, staring at his free hands like he's never seen them before. "Why? Vicky, you threw away everything. Your job, your pension, your entire life for me. Why?" And Vicky, with tears streaming down her face, says the 6 words that sealed both their fates. "Because I love you, Marcus." They stand there, on free ground, no bars between them. For the first time ever, they're just 2 people. Marcus pulls her into his arms, holds her while she sobs into his chest. "I love you too. God, I love you too. I'm so sorry this is what it took." They have maybe 30 seconds of peace. Then Vicky's radio crackles. "Transport 7, this is base. What's your ETA at the courthouse?" They both freeze. "Transport 7, do you copy?" Marcus looks at Vicky. They're going to figure it out. "I know." "Transport 7, respond immediately." Vicky reaches down, unclips the radio from her belt, and throws it into the dirt. "Then we'd better run."
10:42 a.m. Riverside County Courthouse. A bailiff calls the prison. "Hey, we're showing a psych eval for inmate Chen scheduled for 10:30. Where's your transport?" The dispatch officer checks the schedule. "We don't have any appointment for Chen listed." "Well, your officer called in a transport this morning, Officer Hartwell?" Long pause. "Hold on." They pull up the authorization form, call Judge Martinez's office. He's on vacation, didn't order any evaluation. By 10:51 a.m., the prison is in full lockdown. Every administrator, every guard, every staff member is being questioned. Someone checks the security footage, watches Vicky and Marcus drive through the gate, watches the van turn left instead of right at Route 47, watches them disappear.
By 11 a.m., an APB goes out to every law enforcement agency in 3 states. State Transport Van Number 7, license 4KLM892. Officer Victoria Hartwell, armed and dangerous. Escaped prisoner Marcus Chen, considered desperate. The news picks it up by 11:30. CNN, Fox, MSNBC, everyone. Prison guard helps inmate escape. Manhunt underway for fugitive officer. Love behind bars leads to shocking betrayal. Vicky's mom sees it on the news in her living room, calls Vicky's phone 17 times. No answer. Meanwhile, Vicky and Marcus are 40 miles away, ditching the transport van in a Walmart parking lot. Vicky's wearing civilian clothes now, jeans and a hoodie from her duffel bag. She's cut her hair short in the van, using a pair of scissors from the first aid kit. It looks terrible, but it changes her silhouette. Marcus is in a Goodwill flannel and jeans they grabbed from a donation bin. They need a car. Vicky walks through the parking lot, finds an older Honda Civic in the back row. No alarm system, no fancy locks. She pulls out a screwdriver and a piece of wire. Learned this from her brother when they were teenagers. Never thought she'd actually use it. 3 minutes later, the Honda starts. Jesus Christ, Marcus breathed. You just hot-wired a car. Get in. They drive, heading southwest, toward Mexico. 6 hours if they don't stop, but they can't go 6 hours without stopping because they need cash, need supplies, need to ditch anything that can be tracked. They stop at a gas station. Vicky goes in, pays cash for gas, buys road snacks and water. The clerk is watching a small TV behind the counter. The news is showing their pictures. Vicky freezes, but the clerk doesn't look up, just rings up the items, takes her money, goes back to scrolling on his phone. Back in the car, Marcus sees her face. That was close. They're everywhere now, Vicky says. Every cop, every sheriff, every fed in the state is looking for us. So what do? We keep driving. We don't stop except for gas, and we pray we make it to the border before they close the net. They almost do. 1:47 p.m., Highway 47, heading south. Marcus spots them first. Police lights, behind us. Vicky checks the mirror. 2 patrol cars, maybe 3 miles back, but closing fast. Hold on. She floors it. The Honda's engine screams. Not a fast car, but she's pushing it to 95, 100 miles per hour. Behind them, the sirens kick on. More patrol cars joining from side roads. They're not going to outrun them, not on the highway. Vicky yanks the wheel left, takes them onto a country road, then another, through farmland and dried creek beds. The Honda bottoms out on every bump. Branches scrape the doors. Vicky, we're going to crash. I grew up here. I know these roads. She does. Every turn, every shortcut. Her brother used to race these back roads when they were teenagers. They take them through a drainage tunnel, under a train trestle, through someone's property, chickens scattering as they blast past. The sirens fade, just a little, then more. They come out on a different highway, 15 miles from where they started. No lights behind them. Marcus is gripping the dashboard, knuckles white. Did we lose them? For now. But they both know it's temporary. The net is tightening.
They ditch the Honda at a rest stop 30 miles from Tijuana. Too hot now. Every cop from here to San Diego has the make and model. They catch a ride with a produce trucker named Dale. Older guy, weathered face, doesn't ask questions when Vicky offers him $200 cash to drop them near the border. You two running from something? Dale asks. Does it matter? Vicky says. Dale thinks about it. Nah, I suppose it doesn't. Good luck with whatever it is. He drops them at a rundown motel 6 miles from the border, the kind of place that takes cash and doesn't ask for ID. The room smells like cigarettes and despair. $40 a night. Vicky stands at the window, looking out at the lights of Mexico in the distance. So close. Marcus sits on the bed behind her. "Talk to me. Where's your head at?" "I'm thinking about my mom," Vicky says quietly. "She's probably seen the news by now. Probably tried calling me 100 times. She's going to think I lost my mind." "Did you?" Vicky turns to face him. "Probably, yeah. I think I did." "We could still turn back," Marcus says. "We could call it in. You could say I forced you, held you hostage. They'd believe it. I'm the convict, you're the guard. You'd do some time, but not as much." "Stop." "Vicky," I said stop. She sits down next to him, takes his hand. "I didn't come this far to turn back now. We go together, or not at all." They spend the night in that motel room. Don't sleep much. Just hold each other and watch the lights of Mexico through the dirty window. At dawn, they make their move. Vicky had done her research, found a guy through Dale who makes fake IDs, cost them $8,000 for 2 driver's licenses that might pass a casual inspection. Sarah Mitchell, Robert Hayes, a married couple from Phoenix on vacation. They strapped the remaining $39,000 to their bodies in money belts, everything Vicky owned, reduced to cash pressed against her skin. Then they walked to the border. 6:47 a.m., the San Ysidro port of entry, one of the busiest border crossings in the world. Thousands of people trying to cross, cars, trucks, pedestrians, American tourists heading home from vacation, Mexican workers commuting to jobs in California. And somewhere in that crowd, 2 fugitives who've been on the run for 21 hours. They get in line. Vicky's wearing sunglasses, even though the sun isn't up yet. Marcus has his hood up. They shuffle forward, step by step, getting closer to the checkpoint. Vicky's trying not to think about what happens if this doesn't work. Federal prison, 10 years minimum for her. Marcus gets another 6 years added to his sentence. They die in prison, both of them. But if they make it across... They reach the checkpoint. A border agent, maybe 30 years old, looks tired, probably been on shift since midnight, holds out his hand. Passports or IDs. Vicky hands over the fake licenses. Her hand doesn't shake. 7 years of looking criminals in the eye has taught her to control her fear. The agent studies the IDs, studies their faces, looks at Vicky a beat too long. Purpose of travel? Vacation, Marcus says. His voice is casual, easy. Beach town near Ensenada, wedding anniversary. The agent's eyes flick between them, between the IDs and their faces. Vicky can see him thinking, calculating. She knows that look. She's had that look 1,000 times herself when something doesn't quite add up. He's about to say something, about to call his supervisor, and then... "Congratulations on the anniversary," he says, and hands back the IDs. They walk through. 1 step, 2 steps, 10 steps. They're in Mexico. They're actually in Mexico. Vicky wants to scream, wants to cry, wants to fall on her knees, but they keep walking, calm, normal, just another couple on vacation. They make it 3 blocks. Then Vicky hears the shout, "Stop! Police!" She turns. U.S. Marshals, Mexican federales, at least a dozen agents, guns drawn, moving fast. "Run," Marcus says. "Where?" Vicky asks, and she's almost laughing because it's absurd. They made it 3 blocks into Mexico. 3 blocks! After everything, after risking everything, after 21 hours of running. 3 blocks! Marcus grabs her hand. Then we don't run. The officers surround them, guns pointed, commands in English and Spanish. "Officer Hartwell, step away from the prisoner." "He's not a prisoner," Vicky says. Her voice is steady. Strange how steady it is. Not anymore. "Ma'am, you need to comply. I know what I need to do. I know what I did." She looks at Marcus one last time, at his face in the Mexican sunrise, "and I do it again." They cuff her first, then Marcus. The metal bites into Vicky's wrists. Familiar. She's put these same cuffs on hundreds of people. Never thought about how they'd feel from the other side.
They separated them immediately. Vicky in one patrol car, Marcus in another. As they drove back toward the border, back toward everything they'd tried to escape, Vicky watched Mexico disappear behind her. So close. They'd been so impossibly close. The trial was a media circus. Prison guard falls for inmate in real-life prison break romance. Corrections officer faces 15 years for love-fueled escape. The Vicky Hartwell case, when guards become criminals. Vicky's lawyer tried to argue diminished capacity, emotional manipulation, that Marcus had groomed her, taken advantage of her loneliness. But Vicky shut that down in court. "Nobody manipulated me," she said from the witness stand. "I knew exactly what I was doing. I made a choice. Maybe it was the wrong choice by society's standards, but it was my choice." The prosecutor asked her, "Do you understand the severity of what you've done? You betrayed your oath. You helped a convicted criminal escape. You endangered the public." Vicky looked right at him and said, "I spent 7 years locking human beings in cages. Some of them deserved it, some of them didn't. Marcus Chen made a mistake, a serious mistake, but he's not a danger to anyone. He's just a man who wanted to be free, and I wanted to be free too. So for 21 hours, we were." "Was it worth it?" the prosecutor asked. Vicky took a long time to answer. Finally, she said, "Yes." The jury deliberated for 4 hours. Guilty on all counts. The judge sentenced her to 12 years in federal prison. Marcus got an additional 6 years on top of his original sentence. They were not permitted contact, different facilities, no letters, no calls, nothing. Vicky's mom came to one court hearing, sat in the back. Vicky saw her crying. After the sentencing, her mom left, didn't say goodbye, hasn't spoken to Vicky since. Vicky is now serving her sentence at FCI Dublin in California. She's been there for 3 months as of today. When reporters asked her during a prison interview if she regretted it, you know what she said? "I spent 7 years as a prison guard telling myself I was keeping people safe, but I was in a cage too. I just didn't realize it. For 21 hours, from the moment that gate closed behind us until the moment they put me in handcuffs, I was free, really, truly free. I woke up every morning for 7 years feeling dead inside, and for 21 hours, I felt alive." She paused, then added, "I'm going to spend the next 12 years in a cell, but I'll spend them knowing what freedom feels like. And that's more than a lot of people ever get."
So, what do we make of this story? On one hand, Vicky broke the law. She betrayed her oath. She helped a convicted criminal escape. By any legal or ethical standard, she was wrong. But on the other hand, can you imagine being so trapped in your own life that throwing it all away for 21 hours of freedom seems like a fair trade? The comments on this are going to be wild, I already know. Some of you will say Vicky was a hero, that she chose love over a system that's broken. Others will say she was a criminal, that she deserved everything she got. Me? I honestly don't know. What I do know is this. Vicky Hartwell made a choice. Maybe it was the wrong choice. Probably it was the wrong choice. But it was her choice, and she's living with the consequences every single day. So I'm going to leave you with this question. If you were Vicky, trapped in a life that felt like slow death, would you risk everything for a chance at real freedom, even if that freedom only lasted 21 hours? Drop your answer in the comments. I genuinely want to know what you think. And if this story left you speechless, make sure you hit that like button and subscribe, because I've got more insane true crime stories coming your way. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next one.